All right, so I just wanted to introduce you, James. I'm so grateful that we're able to have a little chat today. James is the director and lead instructor at Plant Food Culinary Arts. It's a living foods academy, and it's really all about working with, plant-based healing through living food lifestyle. So some of the things we just wanted to briefly touch on, or I actually wanted you to touch on, James, is to kind of share with people what it is to be living with a whole foods, living foods, and then specifically superfoods. What are superfoods? Why are they important? What are the different ways that we can work with superfoods in our daily diet and, keep them accessible?
Okay, so number one, all foods that we get from Gaia, the fresh foods, are great, but there are some that are superstars. Okay, and so that's what we're going to touch on in a little bit. But what is living foods? What does that mean in versus normal standard American diet, or the SAD diet they call it? But for me, it's plant-based. Because I healed myself using a plant-based diet. And so that is what I teach and instruct and have been doing for over 10 years. But even within that, honoring that life force energy when you can in anything you use. Because in a well-rounded plant-based diet, we're going to be using seeds, nuts, legumes, and grains. But you can use those in a dormant state, or you can first activate the life force energy within them. So whenever we're picking up something to cook, like a bean, we're going to sprout it. We're going to soak it overnight, get that life force energy going inside. There's a transformation that happens inside there where the starches convert to the aminos that become the great proteins and become more bioavailable for our body. Same in the grains, same in the seeds, same in the nuts. Now, not all nuts will sprout, but those that will, go ahead and do it, So that kind of thing, honoring the life force energy in food, and then realizing that we've been working with fire for thousands of years, and it's a part of our way of making food, but we've gotten carried away with it in over processing, over packaging, over cooking everything. And it is the downfall of the general health of the population in the United States, and that there are any number of maladies that come along, from hypertension to high blood pressure to diabetes, you name it, that can be directly related to the pH balance in our bodies and the over acidification of our bodies. Our body wants to be at 7.365 pH, perfect, and it fluctuates, our acidic levels, but most people are walking around in a hyper state of acidosis by eating too much high acidic foods, which is all meats and dairy, by the way, and eggs, especially dairy. Dairy is off the chart in its acid levels, and acidosis is the precursor to many of the worst diseases, including cancer, for sure, that are striking everyone. And so I teach food as medicine, and I teach stepping away from the heat. I'm not a raw foodist, like 100% raw food kind of person. I see the power in that for healing, but I teach gently cooked and leaning towards involving a lot of raw vegan kind of techniques in there. So that's what the Living Foods Academy that I have is about. Now, you brought up the superfoods. Superfoods play a role in as a supplemental level in what we make, but it's also just realizing the stars, the ones that shine out there in the produce that we go and buy at the farmer's market or can get locally, or just the power foods that ounce for ounce have more antioxidants, higher levels of vitamins, and are nutrient dense. And if we can involve those kind of things in our day-to-day life and learn creative ways to involve them in everything we make, we're going to be having a far better chance. There's so many different environmental factors, including stress and, exposure to chemicals and different things that can cause disease in people, but you might as well give yourself a fighting chance. to ward all of these off. The more we look at it, we see that people probably, most of us, have had cancer and will have cancer, but you don't always know it. Your body gets it and fights it off, and it goes away. It's when it takes hold that we notice it, and then you're on that path of serious healing. Well, why not up the ante with everything you're bringing in, with all these high antioxidant superfoods that we know statistically will ward off your chance of ever getting exposed and holding on to something that becomes a cancerous growth in your body. Okay, so that's your dark leafy greens, of course. Got to go out and eat all your kale, the dino kale, and it's become this kind of darling child of the superfood movement, but there's a good reason. Kale, pound for pound, is just nutrient dense, not high in calories, super high in antioxidants and nutrients that it brings, but all the dark leafy cruciferous kind of greens, and broccoli, that another super power fighter in cancer. And so all of and everything in that family, the cauliflower, the broccoli, the Romanesco, all of that kind of family, superpower. Berries, most people know that, but it's true. And everything purple, think purple when you're out buying foods, whether it's purple cabbage, whether it's purple kale, whether it's blueberries, blackberries, huckleberries, everything purple colored in Mother Nature is a power antioxidant. And so those are all in the superfood category. Purple daikon, purple, whatever is purple. I don't know what it is about purple. Maybe it involves more broad spectrum of colors to bring it together to deliver that color. But even in seaweeds, the red and purple ones are more powerful ones. So remembering the purple range of things is great. Lemons, lemon is alkalizing. It's strange because in the culinary world, we think of it as an acid, and it is, in an acidic way that it can break down food. But the minute it comes into our body, it's very alkalizing and gets that pH balance. I start my day with lemon water every morning. Before I do, 30 minutes before any tea or coffee or anything comes in, I alkalize my body with lemon and water. Just a half lemon goes into a 16-ounce glass of water, and I just sip that for about 5 minutes and let it assimilate. And then I go do my yoga flow in this room right here. Then I go out and start, because I don't eat until probably 10 or 11. I do more the intermittent fasting. So I give my body a good break, a fast every day between my last meal, hopefully around 5 or 6, and then eating once again around 11 o'clock the next day. So I might have tea in the morning or things like that after my lemon water, but I really do wait to take in the fuels. And then that most likely is going to be fruit originally in the morning, very detoxing and energizing. And fruits, the berries, I've already mentioned, are a superfood. Then the other things that I consider superfoods, certain nuts like walnuts, really good for the brain. Deliver the omega-3s and healthy kind of fats for us. Pistachios, there's a lot of the different little seeds that are great. Chia, hemp, flax, this is like my power group. And I involve them in all kinds of different things. I don't use eggs. So chia and flax are great blended egg replacers if you're doing plant-based. But bringing those in, they're all super high in omega-3. Which makes them in the superfood family for sure. And the walnuts are in the omega-3s too. So there's a few. So the reason I don't have all the nuts, people think, well, what about almonds, peanuts, all these different things? Well, nuts can be very high in omega-6 and can really throw your body out of whack if you go and binge on almonds constantly. That's not a good idea. They say nuts, you want to have just what you can fit in the palm of your hand a day in most nuts, because they can throw your omegas out of whack. Walnuts is the one exception. It has the 3-6-9 ratio that's perfect. So you could have them every day, and they're a great source of omega-3. So the other nuts, sparingly, walnuts, superfood. So, and then buckwheat. And most people don't realize that, but the whole buckwheat, not the one that has the dark, like kasha on the outside, but the whole buckwheat is a prebiotic. I'm all about probiotics for the gut. Gut health is brain health, is general health. And so what we can do to feed the probiotics is great. And one of the most powerful prebiotics is buckwheat. So I put buckwheat in my muesli blend that I do. It's an overnight oat kind of soaked. It has oats, buckwheat, and chia in it. And it's my muesli blend. And buckwheat's such a powerful prebiotic to feed the probiotics in our
James,
body.
are you thinking of is it the buckwheat groats?
Yes, they're buckwheat
Okay.
groats, and they're a whole, because you can
Yeah.
buy buckwheat that has the whole on, and then it's a dark brownish black.
Yeah, yeah.
These are the blonde looking ones. You find them in the bulk bin, and you want organic, of course, and they sprout. So you can sprout them to life before you use them, of course, because we're going to activate that life force energy always in a seed when we can't. So I always sprout them. Even when I make buckwheat muesli, I will first have soaked and sprouted them before I put the muesli blend together, which is a dried mix that I keep in my pantry and do my soaked muesli blend. Or my favorite granolas have just as much sprouted buckwheat as they do rolled oats in them, because of the prebiotic nature that it brings to our body. So,
and I think some people have the misconception with buckwheat that it's has gluten, and it's actually gluten free, and
yeah, because it has that word wheat in it, which is weird. And I did the history on that. There was a reason it came out of Holland at some point. There's a strange reason, I can't remember it off the top of my tongue, that it got that name, but it isn't a wheat at all. It is gluten free completely. But people think of buckwheat and they think of those buckwheat pancakes, which I actually used to love when I was a kid, that are dark, the dark buckwheat pancakes that you can get. Well, that buckwheat flour is with the hull on. So that's that darker color. But they're far more digestible when the hull has been taken off of them. So that's why I tell people to buy the buckwheat groats that have the hull taken off. There's nothing wrong with the one with the skin on, but it's not quite as digestible for us. Now, what they do is they feed the probiotics, and that's my other superfood that I like to bring up, and that's kraut, kimchi, kombucha, kefir, a broad spectrum of probiotics coming in, because gut health is the number one thing you can do for overall health. And so you want to have those coming in, but you want to have some prebiotics coming in to feed and flourish those probiotics. I was just doing a live with my students this morning and made seaweed kimchi. I saw some Napa cabbage on sale down at the harvest market in Mendocino, so I grabbed one of those. And the seaweed I had harvested at the super low tide a few weeks ago down here, and I'm actually going to be on one of the national organic seaweed companies' sites with a instructional video, and so they wanted me to come up with a unique recipe. So this kimchi is going to ferment for 3 weeks, and then I'm going to actually make it into crackers, believe it or not. So this will end up being a cracker, a seaweed cracker in the end, light and beautiful, but this has probiotics in it. It's got the superfood, and that's another category for superfoods, is seaweeds, for sure, in powdered form or fresh, because iodine is key to thyroid health. And thyroid health and thyroid cancer is a big issue in the world, especially post Fukushima. There's just more radiation pollution out there, and our best bet to fight that is iodine. And the most bioavailable form over even supplements is seaweed. So if you can find more ways to involve seaweed, all the better. This is the kombu the sweet kombu that I just harvested down in Mendocino just a few weeks ago. So that's in here.
And there's lots of different types of seaweeds, and they have some different properties, but overall, all of them have a lot of great benefits.
Yeah, and all of them have iodine, all of them, so they're it's great but most people don't know about seaweeds, and they think, well, how do I get them into my diet? It's kind of this weird, fishy, oceany tasting thing. It is tricky, but Google it. Get on Pinterest. I love Pinterest. Go on Pinterest and look up seaweed salads, seaweed kraut, seaweed chutneys, seaweed.
I put it in my
all
soup.
Kinds of different stuff. Oh yeah. And anytime you're cooking legumes or rice or different things like that, put a chunk of this in there, and that makes them not gassy. There's something in seaweed when you cook it with beans that takes the gassiness away from the beans as well. And then you're also imparting the minerals and the iodine into your beans, which is great.
And I put them too when I make soup broths or veggie, any type of broth. I put seaweed in all the time. That infuses in. It's so good.
Key ingredient in my teaching with my students every Sunday is once a week you do a zone broth, and that's just using up all the scraps. You save them all week. You've peeled the carrot, whatever. You've saved the skins of all the alliums, the onions, the garlic, everything. All of it goes in the soup pot at the end of the week. You stick, for sure, seaweed in there and dried mushrooms. Here's a big jar of black trumpets. Ooh. Right when we got back from that last catering gig that you and I were at, I walked out my back door, and in an hour and a half, I filled my counter with black trumpet mushrooms. Ooh, so good.
Mushrooms, I definitely have an obsession with, and there are so many great medicinal mushrooms out there that are definitely superfoods for us.
And they're an adaptogen, which means that they have chemical properties in them that go in and help our body to regulate hormones in stressful situations. So yeah, mushrooms, fantastic. So if you can find ways to incorporate those, all the better.
James, what about the algae? What's your take on that?
I think that you can overuse them. I think that some people get too obsessed with like spirulina. But I use them, and freshwater algae are great. I say know where they're coming from, know that you have a clean source. Mm-hmm. And I'm not, people can decide what they feel, but like myself, I know that they come from Lake Klamath up in Oregon. There's a company from there, but every time I drive by there and see the industrial plants along the lake there and see all the boats fly, and I grew up boating in Alaska and know that the cooling system in these outboard motors is spitting out gas into the water and creating a lot of pollution in a lake. That's that same lake. They're taking that algae from that spirulina that they're selling out of Lake Klamath, and so I'm not going to buy algae. Just know your source is what I would say.
Know your source. There's also red algae. There's chlorella.
Yep, completely. Look for organic, good, clean sources. There's one up here in Northern California that is a farm that is doing spirulina now. I can't remember the name of them off the top of my head. And they are doing super clean, pure spirulina. It's blue even. Really good, high quality stuff. So look for good quality, because
what are the
environmental
benefits?
Pollution can get in there,
Let's talk a little bit more about what the benefits are with the algae, the chlorella, the spirulina. Doesn't all of that really help with pulling heavy metals out of the body?
It does. It's a great detoxer, and that's why I don't mind using those. These are the kind of supplements that I bring into my smoothies. Did I bring that basket in here? No, I didn't. I have this little box that I just keep in my pantry in a little clear bin, and it's just all my different maca, reishi, all of the different algae, and and it changes depending on what smoothie I'm making. But I love just putting a little bit in here or there. I'm not one of these people that obsesses on it so much that it becomes too expensive, because people can get so drawn into thinking that they need these superfood supplements or they can't be healthy. I don't think that's true. I think that if you turn towards including all these power foods that I first talked about, you're going to be healthy, but you can even up the ante by adding some of these. I'll buy a bag of spirulina and I won't go through the entire thing for 8 months, because I'm just putting a little touch in.
Yeah, just a little goes a long way.
And you put 2 tablespoons of spirulina in a smoothie, I don't want to drink it. It doesn't taste good.
You want it to
putting a little bit in there to the point where it works is fine,
So let's talk a little bit about these superfoods. So we kind of covered, we got the green veggies, the leafy greens, we've got the super powerful antioxidant fruits,
Yep.
we have some of the stuff from the sea, we have mushrooms, we have nuts and seeds and fermented products. So let's talk a little bit about having these in their natural form and then some of the benefits of having them in a supplemental form.
Okay, in the natural form, it's just involving learning methods to and looking for recipes where you can incorporate these more, in your day-to-day life. And all the alliums, by the way, are great too. The onions and garlic and shallots and all that kind of stuff been being used medicinally for thousands of years,
Yeah.
and the properties they bring to our body is incredible. And just getting creative with different ways of wrapping all of these things in and not overcooking them. Finding more ways to use these fresh. Beets, by the way, are on that list too. There are some root veggies that are superstars, and beets, because they're purplish, are a superstar. But then remember juicing too, because a lot of these things we've listed are great for juicing, and especially if you're doing a cleanse. Now, what's the difference between a cleanse and just doing a green smoothie? Well, there's fiber is the difference. Lots of fiber. And fiber's good. So smoothies are great on a day-to-day kind of thing, but every now and then it's good to give the digestive tract a complete break. And that's when you use juices. And they're the superstar of just bringing in nutrients, but not taxing the body and taking all the energy in the body and focusing it on digestion. So when you're doing a cleanse and you need to have a little bit more energy and you don't want to be taking it all into digesting all the fiber, that's when we do the green juices or the powerful juices and, a juice cleanse like you would do for a week to give your body a break, give the intestines a break, everything a break, but deliver high-powered nutrients from all these kind of things. And juices can have dark leafy greens. They can have the berries. They can have the lemons. They can have the beets. They can have the garlic even, or the ginger, or the turmeric. And ginger and turmeric, two other superstars, turmeric especially.
Yeah.
Whether it's in powdered or fresh. I buy both, and there's different places for both of them. Those kind of things. So there's using them in their whole form. There's smoothies and there's juicing. And a lot of these superfoods can come into play in a lot of those different things, and in salads. People often forget to just grate some turmeric on there, or put it in the salad dressing, or getting ginger and turmeric in your salad dressings, stuff like that. So, and even making your creamy salad dressings with some of these power foods instead of using dairy, like hemp makes a beautiful creamy Italian dressing, hemp hearts. When you blend it down in a blender and add the herbs in, and you can add ginger in and lemon, all these wonderful different flavors in it, but so much more powerful than dairy, which would be acidic. So learning different ways to bring in these power foods to replace things that wouldn't naturally be as healthy for the body can up the ante on how you're delivering these fresh superfoods.
And I just want to touch on what we kind of talked before we started this is just how there's a couple superfoods out there that we might not be able to digest in their natural whole form that are more beneficial for us when they're either powdered or broken down.
Yes, definitely. That's the grasses for sure, because we're not cows and we don't have multiple stomachs. And you just can't digest grass. Humans, it doesn't work. I think you'd be a fool to try and eat a tray of wheatgrass, and you'd probably get pretty sick,
Yeah.
But wheatgrass is so high in chlorophyll and some wonderful things. And I grow trays of wheatgrass. I grow my own microgreens. I just harvested pea tendrils, in my kitchen that I grow by the tray also. But I grow all kinds of microgreens, but the grasses are powerful too, but you can't eat them on a salad. You can only juice them. But in that juiced form or in a powdered form, where they have dehydrated them and turned them into a powder, then they can be used I know that there's some people that feel like the powdered ones are even on the edge. There's some nutritionists that are not sure about the powdered forms. I don't think it's that bad. I've never seen that it was not digestible. I'm pretty sensitive in my body to feeling. And on that note, any of these different things we're using, obviously there are some people that have allergies or reactions to things that other people don't. So if there's one of these superfoods we've mentioned that doesn't work for you, like walnuts, some people have an allergy where their tongue swells up if they eat a walnut. Just don't eat them. Just use one of the other power foods. And that can happen with wheatgrass or different things. So there's some people that
those microgreens are superfoods too, because they're fully packed with just
microgreens are
sprouted.
definitely superfoods. And I always have sunflower microgreens, pea tendrils, wheatgrass, and then other little tiny, I do these little tiny hydroponic microgreen trays of clover and all kinds of different stuff too. But the pea tendrils and the sunflower sprouts, especially sunflower sprouts, which are my favorite, have all the energy to become a 7-foot tall sunflower plant. You know how big sunflower plants get. Imagine how much power is in each one of those little sunflower sprouts. They are a superfood in what they deliver.
That's a really good way of looking at it, James. I never thought about that how it can get to that level of growth.
Yeah. So, pound for pound, sunflower sprouts are one of the most incredible microgreens you can eat, just in what they deliver. So pretty amazing.
So to sum this all up, really, superfoods are, really packed with nutrients, antioxidants, and they really give us, the power and the oomph to like support our bodies. And there's a lot of different variations and kinds out there. And it's just living whole food that is, accessible to us in so many different ways.
Yes.
So if there's anything else you want to say, but also I'm just wanting to give you a chance to, if anyone wants to learn more about your programs or more about what you teach, how they can find you and connect with you.
It's plantfoodculinary.com, and I have classes. I have a Living Foods Foundation class, which is a big epic class, and that is more where people are going in to really take the deep dive into changing their own health and or becoming a coach or a chef. It's a certification course. The precursor to it is a knife and equipment skills for the plant-based kitchen, and I go into a deep dive on all the techniques that you would need to know in order to get that certification, because you got to have both of those if you're going for certification. Some people just want to come in and learn better cooking skills, and that's fine too. You don't have to be going in for getting a certification. And I will be releasing on February 21st, on my birthday, a new shorter version of that big epic class. It has over 100 lessons and videos and takes months to do, but I'm coming up with a truncated version. And there will be a special on it in the last 10 days of February. So they can watch for that. If they go in and sign up for my newsletter or just email list on plantfoodculinary.com, they'll get the note for that. It's going to have a very special price for 10 days, and then it's going to go up to a much higher price. So they can get in and sign up, and it touches on everything: fermentation, dairy alternatives, sprouting and microgreens, and all how to do kitchen gardening, and all the way down to desserts, processed sugar-free desserts, but not lacking in sweetness.
It's a big thing to learn, to have good quality food happening in your kitchen that you might feel like you don't really know where to start or what to substitute. It's really great to know that there's all of these different amazing whole foods that we can add into our diet.
Making it fun and easy too. That's you're not going to be learning big, complicated things that take hours and hours and hours. I make it quick, easy, and delicious. Gotta be delicious or you're not going to stick with it. So
well, thank you so much, James. I feel like this was such a great chat that we had. I'm so grateful that you're able to share your wisdom and knowledge, and that you have this program that is accessible for people to take a little bit convenient deeper dive into healthy eating. So thank you so much for sharing.
And superfoods are a good thing.
Thank
They're a
you.
very good thing, whether it's supplemental or just involving these power foods in your day-to-day life.
We need them for sure.
Yes.
They're definitely our allies. Thank you so much, James.
All right. Great. We'll see you.
Okay.